I messed up so badly. There's a coin that's up around 74% in just the last 3 days, and I barely knew anything at all about this coin. If you're in the same boat as me and you've been missing out on some of these huge pumps that have been coming recently, then you need to understand what I'm going to teach you in this video. And in the next few minutes, just using a few different free tools, I can explain to you exactly how you can identify whether the pump's about to come, whether the pump is finished, and whether you should be getting out and taking profits, or whether you should be completely leaving that coin alone. Hit the like button, and let's get into today's video. Now guys, as we look into crypto bubbles, which I know lots of people hate, but I don't really care because it's very easy to visualize what's going on. This is the last month, and you can see there are a few coins here that have had an absolute stormer. Chainlink up 12.5%, Solana up 22.2%, and if you weren't one of those stubborn people who refuses to subscribe, of which there's like 48% of you, who I will eventually convert, then you will also have been buying Solana with me for like $8 from the start of the year. Solana isn't the one I missed. That's my biggest bag, and I've done really well with it. INJ, however, is at 14.9%. And I go and look at it on the monthly, and it's up 74.2%. This pains me. And then I go and look at the yearly, 452%. And you're like, yeah, Casper's up 1,795. It is. But I'll use it as a comparison later on against INJ. Now what you're seeing is a coin pumping towards the upside. And you're like, am I too late? Should I buy INJ right now? Well, how about we just learn to do it for ourselves and give everyone else a little bit of free time to go and do what they want to do? Well, our first port of call, as always, guys, is the chart. We can go back to the INJ chart on tradingview.com, link down below in the description if you want to get a premium version, although most of you can just use the free one. Now, we want to see basically what was going on. This period of time down here, something was going on between sort of July and October that's eventually led to this. Yes, Bitcoin's pumping, and yes, you know, it all looks great. But not everyone's pumping like this because of Bitcoin. Look at XDC, still struggling down here. Now, if you're at the point where you're like, I don't know what INJ is, well, you need to go and look it up, and you need to go and find out what it is. First of all, we're going to go and look at the website. We're going to understand what the team's like. Turns out the INJ team have a history from Goldman Sachs, have a history from Google, and other huge blue chip companies. That's a massive tick to get started with. What is it? It's a decentralized exchange. And we have in the past seen a big problem with decentralized exchanges, such as Uniswap and others, full of high costs and high prices and all that sort of stuff. What INJ does is it creates markets pulling in data from all sorts of other different exchanges to enable you to have the liquidity in order to make some trades. Now, that might not sound particularly interesting or exciting. All we need to know so far, though, is that this is potentially entering into an interesting space. Throughout the bear market, it's all heaps of development. We can come down below, and you can see that there is a bunch of on-chain transactions going on. It's built on the Cosmos ecosystem, which I talked about in a video the other day, and we're seeing growth in the Cosmos ecosystem for good reason. And I go down below, I find out that it is a Binance Launchpad product. It's backed by people like Mark Cuban. Okay, this is starting to look good. And I know that many of you watching this video will be like, well, I know about INJ. I've been talking about this for ages. It doesn't really matter, okay? We're taking this model, this information, and we're going to use it for whatever product we're looking at in the future. Now, I'm not going to go through exactly all the stuff I found out about INJ because it will take forever, but mostly what I was seeing was a bunch of development that went on through the summer until I came across this one gem, which was the launch of the INJ 2.0 expanding token burning on injective. This effectively turned it from an inflationary asset where you're getting more tokens printed all the time to a deflationary asset. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means if this token is worth this much right now, the price of a token is simply controlled by supply and demand. If the demand starts to go up because the bull market arrives and you're seeing people make lots of trades on a decentralized exchange such as this, and other people are starting to buy into it and invest into it, that's going to drive up the demand. Then at the same time, you're introducing a new system that is going to start taking away from the supply. In the simple laws of supply and demand goes up, supply comes down. How do we then confirm that that demand is starting to arrive into it? Now, this is June.com, which you're like, well, you've used this before. I used part of it before, but what I want to show you is this, right? This is basically a crypto data by and for the community. And you're like, well, what does that mean? It's nerdy stuff, guys. There's a lot of very seriously technical and smart people who've gone over to this website and created some epic tools that you can use to make your life extremely easy. One of which we've talked about before, but this is a slightly different one. Now, I didn't even know that this existed on here until I went and checked it out. So I go here, I type in INJ. Now, what is it going to give me? I don't know. It might not give me anything, but I go through and eventually I find this, right? This one's called like Lydia Pitta Injective Protocol Token Analysis Tool. What does it show me? Oh, guys, this is for INJ. Come down below and you can see the number of new wallets being created. And I know I've showed you one before with the token analyzer, which is very cool, but that was only limited to certain chains. So if you want specific tools or whatever associated with certain coins, like Solana or INJ or whatever, then you're going to have to use something slightly different. What you can see is over the last kind of like few weeks, we've seen a massive accumulation going on in the wallets. That's very important because this accumulation in the wallets is showing us that even though the price is increasing aggressively, maybe, just maybe, we can still get in and still make the most of a fairly substantial move towards the upside. We can see, looking at this, holder by count size, the top being the whale, and then you go down through the sharks, the dolphins. I never even realized that this kind of, we went down to that sort of level. But you can see the whales at the bottom are not really kind of changing much, okay? So they're maintaining their holding. They're growing. And then what we're seeing at each sort of level is kind of like the growth going on. It's important to note that you are yet to see a huge amount of accumulation by kind of big money coming in. We can also see the top 100 trades by estimated profit. And notice there is a sell coming in up here, which is a pretty big one back on the 16th of October. But we're not really seeing many big sells coming in at all in the last few weeks. That indicates to me that people are still holding. Big bag holders are still holding. And you can see some of the bags that are being represented here. You can come down through and you can see a lot more information about how much is being traded on the dexes. And that's also very key to see. Now, if you want, which we talked about in previous videos, you can just take the wallet address, take it across to like Zerion.io, which is like a wallet scanner, and you can drop the address in there and you can see what these guys are holding. That might be useful for your future analytics. So the next thing we want to do, now we've got a coin we know is pumping and we're wondering whether or not it's a good time to dive in. We come across, as per usual, to Twitter. Particularly right now when the markets are starting to move, you're going to see people rushing into the markets. We kind of want to be riding that wave. If you've not already been kind of investing before, then you might not have missed out. You still have good opportunity, but you could find yourselves with a Bitcoin up towards 50k, potentially, or 48k very, very soon. And as you probably guessed, we've been in the bull market for most of the year. Most people haven't even realized it yet. So what we're here in Twitter and we want to be checking, guys, is taking this code under here and we want to be dropping it into Tweet Scout. Now, why is this an important thing to be doing? Well, what we're looking for is the growth of the community that's happening. Right now, you're seeing people flood into crypto. It's important that those people are flooding into the projects that we want to be looking at still, okay? What we can see on the social growth chart, followers. What you're probably doing is you're buying crypto projects, you're probably going and giving those projects a follow after. Look at the consistent growth we're seeing on this particular chart. You can say they've been adding thousands and thousands of new followers every day. That's in line with all those new wallets which are coming in. And I want to show you this as an example, guys. Solana, which has also been booming towards the upside recently, you can see 2.2 million followers. It has an enormous community, despite earlier this year having a ton of haters who have now all gone completely silent. What we can see is Solana as well has continued to grow. And Solana is literally adding tens of thousands of followers every day as well. This is still very positive for what's going on in Solana. But I'm going to show you this as a contrast. We've seen a very good early year from Casper. We've started to see it slow down. And I put this red band on here and we can still see it getting sold off into this area. And I still anticipate we may see a move to the downside. Now you're wondering why that might be. I told people in a few videos that I made before about Casper that as it moves towards the upside, you'll get fewer people willing to buy and more people willing to sell, particularly if more people are not entering the space at the time of making the video. Now we're getting more people entering the space. Are they going and diving into Casper? Well, it's quite clear that they're not, because this price chart recently is not showing much bullish action. We come across to Tweet Scout and you can see that Casper itself here actually started to decline in terms of numbers of followers, and then actually paid attention to the number of followers that it was gaining per day. And you can see that Casper was actually gaining followers at a rate of around 300 or 400 per day. And that to me indicates that we're less likely to see much going on with Casper. And the more big coins around it start to pump, you will see people starting to pull their profits out of Casper and starting to chase those dreams of glory again. Why is that? Well, I've talked about it in many videos before. Dopamine is your biggest enemy when it comes to trading crypto. Well, you're pretty much your biggest enemy when it comes to making any bad decision. The problem we get after seeing very big aggressive moves, and I'm just going to keep using Casper, is that we get this association that Casper is going to be delivering my dopamine. Casper is going to be like my cigarette or my beer at the end of the week or whatever it is. Something to make me feel good. But like any crypto junkie, after it starts to stagnate in an area like this for a while, I'm going to start to lose interest and I'm going to start to go away to somewhere else. And without new people arriving into the space through Twitter, etc., you're less likely to see that continuation and more likely to see a decline. Now, I could be wrong. This is just my research, so don't get upset about it. And if you do want to get upset about it, that's also fine. So last but not least, what are we going to do about INJ? Or Solana for that matter. We will also look at Solana because, you know, why not? Well, here's a problem. When we've been pumping very, very aggressively like this, you need to be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more patient, because there is a problem that people do take profits out. And I know this is in kind of contrast to what we've seen with Casper, but that was kind of a bit of a different time. I do think INJ is going to continue to pump higher, but if you haven't got in yet, then potentially we might need to be waiting. But what I wanted to show you was how we could have potentially seen this coming by seeing them starting to gain followers, of which you could use Tweet Scout for this. We can also start to identify wallets being accumulated and things like that, which could have given us a better indication somewhere down here that we might be able to get a good move out. And as you can see, that move in the last 2 weeks looks like pretty much doubling your money. Now, the reason I'd be cautious about diving into INJ right this second, despite there being some very positive and bullish news about it, is that it is going to be running into this significant area of resistance. Why is it resistance? Well, look what happened in the past every time it got sold out of there. There's a good indication to me that we will not likely break through this at first attempt. What I will be looking for is INJ to see some form of a pullback. How big will that pullback be? Well, I don't really know, and you can see that we have had a pullback before and it's pumped again, but I still anticipate that I maybe at this current time in the market would like to buy INJ in an area around here. Why would that be? Well, look what was happening here before. You can see these big candles, this big bullish action in this area. It indicates to me if we dip back in here, then I get a better shot of it. Well, we can see that would be a decline of around 15%. And this is just teaching myself to be disciplined. I can set an alert for it and maybe I can get in at another time. But there will be another coin and there will be another time outside of INJ, another coin that we can identify some very bullish news on. When we start to realize the types of news that indicate massive bullish action in the future, such as relationships like we've just seen Solana signing a huge deal with Amazon Web Services, also with Visa and Shopify, which I've been talking about on the channel for a while, as well as other things like adjustments to tokenomics and adjustments to that supply and demand model, then we can really start to pay attention and reverse engineer things that might actually have a positive impact on the news, rather than just waiting for that lawsuit thing that keeps going on with XRP that never really does anything. No offense to anyone who's sensitive on the subject of XRP, and XRP has enjoyed at least a 2% pump today. Now guys, there's something else I'm very bullish on, and that is the mass adoption of cryptocurrency. And over the last few months where I've been traveling around and trying to make payments overseas and things like that, I've started to understand why it's so essential that we completely bridge the gap between using fiat currency and cryptocurrency. Now, if you come across to meld.fi, link down below, absolutely free guys, you can sign up for an early access pass. This will enable you, once it's released, to be able to get yourself a MELD card, which you'll be able to use at cash point around the world. Not only that, you'll be able to stake your cryptocurrency in an app using the same platform and be able to bridge it across different chains. This is really cool because it means that you can effectively keep your cryptocurrency during a bull market, and when you need to cash it out to buy your coffee or whatever that might be, you can do that with a card at pretty much any ATM around the world. And this is extremely important right now. As we're seeing in various different countries, it's becoming more and more difficult to be able to remove your funds from exchanges, and that separates meld.fi because you're going to be able to buy and exchange cryptocurrency with fiat safely 24 hours a day using your card. You can spend it in a bunch of different currencies, whether that be the Singapore dollar, the euro, the GBP, the USD, and you get yourself this sexy little pink card. Not only that, but by signing up to the early access, you'll be able to get yourself onto the meld.fi app, which as you can see has an extremely user-friendly interface. This is something that actually has me quite bullish on Meld as a potential investment, in that the user interface is extremely important. If you go and use exchanges such as KuCoin and Binance, as you've probably been using already, then you'll understand that someone who's new to cryptocurrency is completely intimidated by things like that, whereas an interface like this could be breaking down the barriers to mass adoption in cryptocurrency. You'll be able to stake to earn passive rewards and so many other things. Make sure you go and check it out, link down below in the description, and yes, meld.fi is an official partner of the House of Crypto. I hope you enjoyed that little video today. If you're new to the channel, why haven't you subscribed yet?